stage.
Yes.
Hey. Oh my gosh, I can hear you. Yes. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Highly stressful environment right now. My baby is
Yes.
crying
Yes.
outside. Yeah, so yes, I'm putting on my earpiece on one side, the other side, just checking on the baby.
Lovely. First and foremost, I'm so happy to be able to hear your voice. That's number one. So we can definitely have a more organic connection
Yes,
conversation.
yes, yes.
100%. Let's go ahead and just jump right on in. I and Aiko is releasing on Gala Film December 3rd, and the team is excited. We're all just can't believe it's. I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but it's just took so long for this to finally just come to fruition. So we're ecstatic. So how are you guys feeling? How is the I and Aiko team?
Oh, very excited. Like the film was, to be honest, it's almost completed since the end of last year. But I think due to some unforeseen circumstances, we decided to uh, push back the release date.
Mhm.
We were actually excited since the end of last year. So both the Japanese production team, my creative team, the writers, we're all looking forward to the release. And one interesting fact that I wanted to share with the people listening here today is, during the production of the Ai and Aiko Christmas film, we were actually in competition with another Netflix production using the same studio, Dwarf Studio in Japan. And we were taking up two studio rooms to have two production simultaneously so that we instead of producing, like we were shooting for 12 hours per day, which will probably give us about 1 to 1.5 seconds of film per day. Think about that. 36 frames per second. So we were really trying to push to, instead of 1 and 1.5 seconds per day, we were trying to push to 2 to maybe 3 seconds of shoot per day in order for us to finish the shoot while we were in competition with another very big production on Netflix by the same studio. And of course, because of that, the talent, the competition for the talent, the competition for the resources, the spaces, the places, the craft, the production, the design of the setup, everything was so uh, tough because we were competing against a Netflix production who definitely have more budget to pay more, to get more talents, to get the first pick of the talent that they wanted. Fortunately for us, I have a friendship with the director Takuma Ayomatsu-san. He actually produced and directed my first film back in 2018. And this time, when I said I wanted to do a bigger and longer film, he said yes readily, and nobody can take him away from the I and Aiko Christmas film. So everything was smooth from there on. Yeah.
That is awesome. I mean, just awesome to hear that you guys are. I mean, it's no shock to me to know that you guys are in competition amongst the big leagues in terms of sharing resources and talent. I mean, because the short looks incredible, so it's no shock to see you guys are, rubbing, I guess, shoulders and elbows with some of the top in the game or in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in terms of Einaka, what inspired you to create it?
The What inspired me to create Ai and Aiko, I think there are probably two phases. Initially, when I first created Ai and Aiko, it was because of my grandpa. Growing up, I was very close to him. Every day after school, I'll be going home and he'll be sitting there at the grandpa's sofa, armchair, and then just ask me how's my day and all that. Very close to him. He always asked me what's my dream. And I always told him my dream is to draw and be an artist. Until there was this incident where I was kicked out of a free draw art lesson because I told the teacher I couldn't afford a future lesson fee. I couldn't hold a pencil properly. I had four fingers wrapped around a pencil awkwardly. So the teacher told me, you can't hold a pencil, you can't draw, you can't afford the future lessons. Could you please get out of here? So I went home, I cried. My grandpa, told me stories all the time. And this time he told me a story to encourage me not to give up on my dream. And he said that there used to be a boy just like you who loved to wear red t-shirt. His hair is just like you, thick eyebrows, small eyes like you, hold pencil in a weird way with four fingers wrapped around it. Similarly, was kicked out of an art lesson because he couldn't afford a future lessons fee. So I was telling my grandpa, I remember, are you just describing what I just told you that happened to me? And he's like, no, 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 no. There used to be this artist, but, he never gave up. And before he died, he was very successful. He created Disneyland. And I asked my grandpa, what was his name? I want to be like this person. And my grandpa, after a while of hesitation, he replied, Picasso. So I told him and I made a promise to him, when I grow up, I want to be like this Picasso who created Disneyland. 2 years later in primary school, I realized from an art biography lesson, uh, there are two different people from two different continents in two different industry. So I went home, I confronted my grandpa, and he's like, oh, is it? He didn't know better. So he was the only son among many sisters. He didn't went to school. He started work when he was really young. And I think his intention was probably trying to encourage me not to give up my dream. So at 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, in 2001, he passed away. And I think one of the last lesson that he's trying to indirectly teach me is that sometimes you don't realize the true value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Sometimes when you say later, it might become never. Growing up, I always tell him I'll be a great artist when I grow up. But when I grow up, he's no longer there. So there was this regret that he always asked me what my dream was, but I never once asked him what his dream was. This, it really affected me a lot. And when he was gone, that was when I first, in December, when I first created the first iteration of I. And if you look at the design of I, if you realize the shape of the hair, it takes the shape of the peace dove that Picasso drew. And if you look at the three circles, the 2 years and a round face, it was inspired by Mickey's, the two big ears and a round face. I put them together, that was the very first iteration of I. And I created that to subconsciously remind myself why I started in the first place. That, everything we do, every decision we make, it must be because of love. And it must be because of happiness. Then the second phase of what really inspired Ai and Aiko to today is I've devoted the whole of my adult life from 16, 17 years old, in Singapore, then to regional in Southeast Asia, then to different parts of the world in South Africa, in South America, in China, in Japan. The more memorable one would be in Aceh, Indonesia, and also in the Fukushima, Miyagi, Iwate prefectures back in year 2011 after the tsunami. As early as March, 2027 or 28, we were back in Japan and we went to Saitama where the evacuees from Fukushima was staying at this Saitama Sporting Stadium. Like I remember at the time that my friends who were much older than me by a generation, always giving me advice and guidance, was telling me, Peter, maybe this is not the best time to see the most beautiful sights in Japan. I remember telling them, and they kept quiet after they heard what I say. I told them maybe this is the most beautiful, best time to see the most beautiful human side of Japan. And I did. Over there, you see young people, some with earrings, with punk hair, orderly queuing up, helping elderly and children. Children, volunteering to move things to help their families, other people's families. We see people who lost their parents, parents who lost their kids. And I used to always believe, right, from a very early days of creating I and Aiko, that the most beautiful curve in the world is a smile. When I was there, I got a um, uh, new way of looking at this. And I realized, many people always talk about, especially in Hollywood films and TV, like the hero make a very difficult comeback, after suffering a lot of setbacks. In the end, there's a happy ending. I have a simpler way to look at this. I believe the most beautiful comeback ever is simply to smile again. And this is the reason why everything I do for the whole of my adult life really just, for it doesn't make sense to other people. Why are you doing this for free? Spending your time to go to places where they don't even know you, then you're devoting so much time drawing with kids, drawing for kids, just to make them smile. But today, fast forward, just like Picasso's, when his best friend passed away, he went through a period where he created all his artwork and paintings in blue. Everybody was telling Picasso that, blue paintings don't really work, doesn't really have value. And curators, collectors, the institutions don't really value blue paintings. You should be painting them in red. But fast forward to today, the blue period is actually one of the most sought after and important and valuable of his career today. Just like the things that used to be, like, this doesn't make sense at all. On the other side, looking back today, I think love don't have to make sense at first to make sense in the end. And I think some of the back to your question, what inspired me to create I and Aiko? I think whether it's the stories, whether it's the creating the characters in the world, creating the little conversations in the storytelling to bring out the soul, I think it's really, and everything can be answered by three words: because of love. Whether it's the biggest decisions, whether it's the biggest creative decision to decide on what character, what narrative, what is the storytelling, what is the plot twist, can always be answered by because of love. Yeah. So these are the two phases that inspire me to create the I and Aiko of today. My earlier phase, really inspired by my grandpa. And I always tell, like when we were born, we can't really choose the cards that we were dealt with, but we should be able to make the best out of it. Make the best of your life. Make the rest of your life the best of your life. And then the second phase is, my entire adult life with children, and it helps to inform and inspire and shape my storytelling and world building for I and Aiko.
I love that. I mean, that's just the message is inspiring. I mean, and just listening, to your journey about, what your grandfather has instilled in you is just it's just a story of resilience. And I love to hear from creators that have these resilient backgrounds. They just have this this drive to be able to defeat the odds. And it sounds like that's what he instilled in you. And it sounds like that's what you've instilled in this short to be able to I guess come to the audience that will watch it. And sorry for your loss. I know how important grandparents are. I've lost some in my past as well, so I definitely can relate to
Mm,
that. So sorry for your loss, but he sounds like a wonderful man. So I'm happy you were able to even experience him and even to be able to get these gems from him. So that's dope to hear. But speaking on like the audience and people
mm.
being able to watch this short on Gala Film December 3rd, what message would you like to, or I'll make this a two-part question. So what would you like the audience to take away from the short, which you probably already kind of hinted at already,
Mm.
but the second part would be diving more into the expansions content, because I know we'll have some content that people won't be able to see unless they unlock these mystery boxes, but just wanted to
Mm.
just hear a little bit about those two things.
For me personally, when it comes to writing stories and in storytelling, there are people that always, like, Peter, who are you writing for? What is the age group? What is the age range? What is the demographic? But I think as a writer myself, creating the stories for I and Aiko, when I write the story or when I create a film, I really, really just have one person in mind. That 6-year-old child who in this Christmas period might be feeling lonely because of something he did maybe earlier in the year, or something that happened to him, circumstances or situations beyond his own decision that caused him to feel lonely. This Christmas film was really created for this one 6-year-old child in mind. The message I really want people to take away, while, like, I can already see, right, every Christmas period, there will be happy families, together, smiling, having a good time together. But on the other side, there are always people feeling lonely. And there's a age when in our childhood, for example, right, there are emotions that are really difficult to handle with. They're very difficult to come to terms with. Like for us now as adults, it's easy. But as a 6-year-old child, imagine going to school and you say hi to some other student that's walking past you, and he look at you, he continue walking away, and you'll be thinking to yourself, did I do something wrong? Does he like me? Not. What did I or what did I not do properly? Why did he just walk away in such a rude way? These are things that children have to deal with. That's quite hard to handle. Especially at their young age. And the message, the single one message that I want, that I hope, not I want, I hope people can take away from this film is, it is sometimes, it is when we least deserve love that we actually need it the most. It is when we least deserve love that we need it the most. That is the single one message from this Christmas film that I hope people can take away. And I think when you look at the film, when you watch the film from the very start to the end, you'll realize the storytelling, the art that we created, everything is very simple, right? Everything is very cute. But at the end of the film, you'll realize, that one of the character probably did something not so right, but in the end, like the original quote for Ai and Aiko when I first created it, love can happen anywhere. And really, like when you say you want to make a film that really make people feel loved, I really thought that the biggest warmth and love can be felt by people feeling the coldest. So I wanted really to make this film about, people who thought, whether rightfully or wrongfully, they don't deserve love. I hope, they get the love for this Christmas. And this is the only one thing that I hope this film can achieve. Yeah.
I love that. And I can definitely relate, especially I feel like in moments of grief, when people are navigating grief and they end up, acting out and doing things where people around them can kind of stray away from them, and it's like that's the time where they need to be surrounded by community the most. So I definitely do agree with that philosophy that at the least deserving, that's when you need the love the most. And that's crazy to hear such a powerful message. Or not crazy, that's the wrong word, but it's interesting to hear such a powerful message coming from a short that you can kind of assume is for children. It seems like it'll have me and other adults curled up in a ball somewhere reflecting on our life. But
Mm,
children shows or series tend to have that effect. They always tend to hit that inner child in everybody. So I definitely love that message and excited to see how the community will respond. And not just our community, but the world that gets to experience I and Ico. Um,
mm.
it looks like there was a special filmmaker that shot some of the BTS, if I'm not mistaken. Can you reveal who that may be or give us some more insight on that experience?
He's just a friend, D Rock. He used to work as the creative director at Gary V's company, VaynerMedia. So I invited him to come down and shoot for the behind the scenes. Of course, he was completely surprised by the workflow and the process and the attention to the details in the Japanese studio. When I first brought him inside, I remember he was like, "Wow, all this just for 1 second per day." So he brought his camera here. He shot the behind the scenes, some footages, that the Japanese studio allow. Some the Japanese studio doesn't allow. We can't really see it, but for those that it's okay for D Rock to film, it's all in the behind the scenes that you can watch. And D Rock also very kindly offered to film some of the interviews uh, for the Japanese team, the director. And maybe I should take this opportunity to share some interesting Since we are talking about D-Rock, it's amazing. Let me share a little bit about other casts in the production as well. The director, of course, is Takuma Ayomasusan, the director that I really love. He has this special way of telling and expressing really subtle feelings and emotions that, other Asian or Western storytelling can't really, because Japanese really have this very subtle emotions. If you understand the Japanese language, even the way they talk, even the way they express their feelings, there is this very subtleness in it. And Takuma Yomasu-san really is really good at, expressing these very subtle feelings and emotions. And for the cast itself, for the voice actresses, for people who love Hamtaro, the, very popular hamster animation series, and Crayon Shin-chan. We during our casting, there is a lot of interest uh, in Japan, and we casted Kurumi Mamiya-san uh, from Hamtaro, the lead actress for Hamtaro, and Yumiko Kobayashi. These are really, really experienced voice actresses, and Yumiko herself is the leading voices for all the Crayon Shin-chan, including the recent movies, that went on it, and they are very kindly, like express interest to voice for Ai and Aiko. And our writer for this Christmas film is Minako Kawanabe. She actually wrote for a lot of the stories for Doraemon. And of course, our producers, Yuriko and Tetsuya-san, amazing people to really help us, during this very rush, compressed period of production to compete for the resources and the talents to really put everything together and make sure everything is on time and we can deliver the final film to Gala. And back to D-Rock, I think he's been to Japan many times, but there wasn't a time where he can really, spend his time, have coffee and chit chat and just daydream and, take out his very, iconic notepad and start writing down ideas. And we exchange a lot of, creative ideas. I remember, I don't really drink. He drinks. I remember we sat down and then he ordered a red wine. I think it's 11 a.m. And we were supposed to exchange ideas. I think I got drunk halfway through that first glass. So I don't know what I said. I can't really remember. But he said that was one of the most creative meetings he ever had. And he really enjoyed himself in Tokyo because I planned a few days for him. And not every day is for him to shoot. So he can really take in Tokyo and get all his inspiration he needed, for his next phase of his career. It was a very nice moment, and it was really really good that D-Rock, despite his busy schedule, he flew all the way to Tokyo from New York, I believe, and did all the filming of the behind the scenes for us. And one thing you need to take into consideration, what makes it even more special is that the Japanese team, you know their mother tongue, their main language is Japanese. D-Rock ability in the Japanese language is I think arigato and konnichiwa. I think that's it. And so it was a very interesting to see how D-Rock interact with the crew in Japan. Yeah. Thanks for asking this question. It brought back a lot of fun memories.
Of course, I love that, and I love to hear, working with so many talented creators, and even though it was 11 o'clock in the morning, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere, and a little liquid courage can always get the creative juices going. But speaking of these moments, what would you say was your favorite moment, either on set or just throughout the creative process? Just like one moment that really stood out.
Mm, for this film, we make the new character, uh, Genki, which is the cat, and we already have the puppets for I, Aiko, and Grandpa. I is the boy, Aiko is the puppy, Grandpa is the grandpa. And for this film, we created a new character, which is the cat. And the most special moment is really to see the craft, the puppet presented to me by the craftsman, using felt material. It looks so kawaii. That like when you unbox something for the very first time, and there was this the very first second or 3 seconds, and you get this wow. When I see the cat coming to life, previously it was in 3D animation, previously it was in 2D illustration. To see it, come in the form of the puppet, you really have to see the cat, the way they craft the leg, the tail, the ears, the whiskers. Is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's so cute. Yeah. So that was that one moment that I remember, right? I was taking so many photos upon holding the cat puppet in my hands for the first time.
Love that. I think we're gonna go ahead and open up some Q&A for the community. I do see one question in the audience. They're asking, how long is I and Aiko?
For this Christmas film, it is about 10 minutes. 10 minutes is about 600 seconds, and we shoot about 1 second per day per studio room. So you can imagine, and that's just for the shooting, by the way. It
Wow.
exclude the pre-production. The actual production has more than just shooting, and then of course the post-production.
Wow, that's a lot. Are you thinking about a second part to this?
We have I have already I'm actually quite lucky that a lot of really creative talents has expressed their interest, to work with me on I and I Coast, building the franchise, expanding the world and the universe. uh we have already created, storytelling, episodic, stories for TV, even for more short films. And also, we are started working on the concept, very early concept, for potential feature film length project. Uh, and one thing, since we have some of the people who have interest in I and Co, maybe this is the right time for me to share a piece of good news. Gala Gala team already know this. Uh, Early this year, my agents at William Morris and Diva did an auction, and we are very lucky, and we signed a very good book deal with Penguin Random House, with Philomer, to really bring I and Ico storytelling to life through picture books. And like, if 2022 or 23, this year is 24, right? If 2023 is about making the I and Echo Christmas film, I try to do one project at a time. I can't really multitask. Um, then 2024 is about working on the picture book. And we just received the confirmation for the release date for the picture book. It comes out in North America on the 29th of July next year, in summer. And the first book is really special because the title itself is I and Aiko and the Little Curve. And I think for people who watch this Christmas film, for people who read that picture book, I think you'll find something very surprising at the end. And that's the little surprise that I hope people can take away each time they experience the I and Aiko storytelling.
Love that. We dropped an exclusive. Drop some W's in the chat. We have a book coming, or Peter and the team have a book coming, I was gonna say. Um, yeah, exciting. So it sounds like 2025 is gonna be even bigger than 2024, which is something that we always look.
Uh, yeah. When I first met the team at Gala, I was single. Then I got married during the production, and then when the production is done, my baby just turned 1 year old. So this project is very interesting. A lot of memories to look back.
Congrats! Congrats on the marriage, the newborn. So now, well, this is your second born then, coming out on the
First one,
third.
first one. Yeah. First one, first one.
Oh, okay, first one. Got it. Love that. We
Yeah.
have one more final question. Is this movie purely stop motion? And how have you considered digital or AI for the future? Or do you wish to remain true to your craft?
Wow, this is a very good question. Whoever asked this, very good question. Thank you. Originally, we planned for 100% stop motion film, but due to the the creative decision of the director, there is a moment in the short film where there is a flashback memory, and because the stop motion is too cute, and we really wanted to, the director wanted to express certain as emotions uh, with a certain way of expressing it subtly. So he decided to use 2D animation for the memory flashback. And back to the question. So I think 90% is stop motion, 95% is stop motion. That 3 to 4 to 5% is the 2D memory flashback. And the things you see, right? Like when I and Aiko is walking on the snow, and then you realize when you walk, you leave behind footsteps. That's, step into the snow. Everything is handcrafted, right down to every drop of the snow is all handcrafted. The only CGI we use, the digital editing that we use, is for the coloring, for the snow, the falling snow. Other than that, everything is handcrafted in the stop motion. We try to use as little the technology as possible uh, to really retain as much the handcraft element to making the film. Uh, and are we using any AI? I think the future is really, I'm just a storyteller. I'm not really a technical person. Whatever opportunity that comes, I think I'm I'm quite eager to try and experience. But for now, I think for this film, I think 95% is stop motion, 5% is 2D for the flashback memory scene.
I love that. I love to hear that you're a true creative and just dabble into different techniques. I definitely need to start. I kind of want to just start playing around with Photoshop and just getting my start there. But who knows? I'll stay in the marketing and community management lane for now. I'll leave that to the true creators. Um, but it was truly a pleasure having you speak to the community and just giving your thoughts and what inspired you. And I know you're very busy, so we don't want to keep you too long. But did you want to leave the community with any final thoughts? And then we'll just, I guess, well, the community's already seen the trailer, and we've been teasing some
Mm.
of these statics and other content leading up to the release. But any final thoughts you want to leave with them would be great.
Any thought? Let me think. Let me think. I think maybe this one thought, like for every word we say, everything we do, every decision that you guys make, uh, hopefully we make it because of love. Because every other thing that you do it for, right? Maybe it's for greed, maybe it's for out of envy or any other reason. Usually the outcome eventually will not be sustainable or will not be what you really wanted. And just like the name of my company, Happy, Happwhy. So we replace the spelling of the word Y with the word WHY, because I believe happiness is always more meaningful when you have your why. It could be because of your child, it could be because of your family, it could be because of a idea or passion that you have. You know, having a why makes the happiness more meaningful, and that's why I named my studio Happy, Happwhy, to always remind myself, always make every decision because of the why that I believe in. And because of this, every meeting that I go into in Zoom or in person, people always say, "Hi, your company is Hep. Why?" And I always have to spend 5 seconds to explain to them it's pronounced as happy. But then, I like the situation. It's not like I'm going to change the company name just because 99% of everybody I meet pronounce it as Hep. Why?
Everything you do, do it for love. You couldn't have said it better. I love that philosophy. Yeah, Ai and Aiko is releasing coming to Gala Film on December 3rd. The mystery boxes, the only packs, they'll all be ready on the release date. You guys will also be able to exchange some of your posters as usual for some moments. We're excited. I know that the Ai and Aiko team is excited. This definitely going to be an inspiring short, and I hope you guys and the world will take away the message that was intended by Peter and the team. So, thank
Mm.
you again, Peter. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and have you
Thank
join
you
the
so much.
community. We could
Yeah.
probably do something like this again after release as well and dive more
Mm.
into other endeavors that you have. But
Yeah.
this was a pleasure. This was a
And
pleasure.
to everyone who spend your time listening to Kibi and me, thank you for spending your time with us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. Until next time. If you have any other questions, feel free to ping me and the team, and even Peter. He's in the server. We'll be able to address you. But December 3rd is the day. Talk soon. Bye
Thank
bye.
you guys. Thanks.